around, please feel free to mingle and check them all out. A couple of things I'm going off script with. One of them is I'd like to have Luann come up here. Is Luann available?
Looking for a Luann. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Good. Good.
Hello, Chris. Hey, Rob. You'll do. You'll do. All right.
Go ahead, Tony wants to speak. Wants her? Something about Tony wants something. Nope.
Hey, this is Luann. She is one of the owners, along with Rob, of this great establishment. They're always here for the community. They're always just awesome. They always look out for people. And this is just a great place. I want to thank her and present her with the original climate stick that is made of ceramic as a token of our appreciation.
Here, go this way.
Ready?
My wife is.
All right. Thank you, Lou. And another thing I'm going off script with, we had a person pass in the past day or so, and I'd like to just have a moment of silence for Mariah McLean, who was one of the helpers with Pat and Terry in starting like the Lone Tree Council and the Saginaw Valley Sustainability Council and stuff like that. So please just have a moment of silence, or just raise your fist for Mariah. Thank you. All right, back to the script. Thank you all for being here, and I'd like to welcome our great mayor to this great city. Chris Gerard is a lifelong Bay City resident and believes deeply in the power of community. Together with his wife Molly, they have raised a family here, welcomed 5 adopted daughters, and shared their home with dozens of other foster children over the years. Chris is also a proud grandfather many times over, and family remains at the center of everything he does. Outside of City Hall, you're likely to find him running along the riverfront, cheering on Michigan State sports. Michigan State? Yes. Or enjoying a cup of coffee with his neighbors. He sees his role as mayor as not just being a public service, but as an extension of his belief in strong communities are built through kindness, connection, and looking out for one another. Chris is proud to welcome today's Festival of Bay City, a place he loves and a community he's committed to helping grow a sustainable, inclusive, and hopeful way.
Okay. It was set up for me in the beginning, all right, and then they moved it down. All right. There we go. Hello, Bay City and guests today. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony, for the introduction. You last night asked me to add on to my introduction duties a land acknowledgement speech. So as we begin, I just want to take a moment to honor where we stand today in Bay City. It rests on ancestral and unceded lands of the Anishinaabe people. Thank you. The Ojibwa, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi, who have, thank you, all right, who have cared for these rivers, forests, and waters for generations. This practice began as a way to confront the truth of our history and recognize that the relationships between indigenous nations and this land continues today. It's not only about the past, but about our shared responsibility in the present. I share these words not as an indigenous person myself, but as a neighbor and an ally. It is important that we as a community honor those who cared this land long before us and listen to the indigenous voices today. May this acknowledgement be more than words, but may it guide us towards a respectful partnership justice, and stewardship of the earth we all share. So, we gather today on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded lands of the Anishinaabe. I'm so sorry. Anishinaabe. I've said it several times, and you know when I get up, Anishinaabe, Ottawa, Ogawa, Potawatomi peoples. All right, have stewarded this land for countless generations. We honor their enduring relationship with this land, water, and sky, and recognize the deep history, culture, and contributions Indigenous peoples past and present. We also acknowledge the ongoing efforts of colonization and affirm our commitment to building respectful relationships and working in partnership towards justice, equity, and care for the earth we share. We acknowledge the enduring relationships these tribal nations maintain with the land, water, and all living things, past, present, and future. We honor their resilience, contemporary presence, and continued stewardship over these lands and waterways of the Saginaw River, Tittabawassee River, Flint River, Shiawassee River, Cass River, Cucullin River, Saginaw Bay, Lake Huron, and all other bodies of water of which we hold sacred. We also recognize that such acknowledgments are only meaningful when paired with action. We commit to cultivating respectful relationships with Indigenous communities, to deepening our understanding of Indigenous histories and contemporary realities, and to actively support justice, equity, and environmental stewardship in partnerships with these communities. So thank you.
Thank you.
I practice and practice. You know, you get up there, and then, so my apologies for some of my pronunciations. So good afternoon on behalf of the people of Bay City. It is my honor to welcome you to our community and to today's Saginaw Bay Sustainability and Energy Festival, our tree hugger, Hootenanny.
Yeah!
So Bay City is proud to be a place where neighbors come together to learn, to share stories, and to work toward a brighter future. Today's gathering is a wonderful example of that spirit. We know that the challenges of climate change and energy sustainability are bigger than any one person or one city, but events like this remind us that real progress begins at the local grassroots level, right here in our own backyard. I want to thank our organizers here, the storytellers, and all who came here today to support the cause. Your willingness to be part of the conversation, to listen and take action is what keeps our community strong. So enjoy the programs, enjoy each other's company, and may the ideas shared here today inspire us to protect our land, our water, and our future generations. Welcome to Bay City, and thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gerard. Everybody say it together. Anishinaabe. 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 So, next up we have our first local storyteller. It's Terry Miller. He's a retired teacher from Saginaw Public Schools, retired adjunct professor of history at Delta College, and most proudly, chair of the Lone Tree Council and its history of activism. Come on, Terry.
Thank you very much for coming, and I'm very happy to be here. These are kind of dark times, and I think we periodically need good stories. We need stories of successes. Now, as Tony pointed out, I taught history for 20 years at Delta College. Okay, how's that?
All right.
Clear? Okay. So, does anybody know what happened in 1897? That's a long ways away. But our Darth Vader president, his favorite president, was inaugurated then. William McKinley. Was also the big Klondike strike. Was also the first time that we had a modern marathon. It was also the date a Ohio-taught chemist came to Midland, Michigan by the name of Herbert Dow. He had a brilliant idea for extracting brine from the groundwater under Midland, Michigan, and he would separate that brine into its constituent parts. He was looking for bromine, he was looking for magnesium, and he got it. And it helped make him wealthy. The problem with that extraction was he was left with a whole lot of chlorine. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about chlorine. It is fairly toxic. It's what we use to purify our water because it kills bacteria. And it also is in our swimming pools. Some of us have probably had stinging eyes as a result of it. And he had a whole hell of a lot of it. And he needed to do something with it. And that was the beginning of organic chemistry. He found if you added chlorine to a number of things, you can create chlorinated plastics, you can create chlorinated pesticides, which include herbicides and pesticides, and you can create chlorinated solvents. And this was in the early 20th century. There weren't a lot of regulation, and as a result, the Tittabawassee River, and because it connects with the Saginaw River and Saginaw Bay, became Dow Chemical Company's drainage basin. Now, some of it was simply historical. There wasn't any regulation at the time, but regulation would come. And even then, flooding and accidents would put these chlorinated products, and worse than that, the waste. One of the unwanted products that come from making these chlorinated products is dioxin and furans. These are nasty little items. We know about them probably more since the Vietnam War, because of course herbicides by the hundreds and hundreds of pounds were used to defoliate the forests, the jungles of Vietnam. And of course, as a result, Vietnamese and American GIs were poisoned with dioxin. So, this is about dioxin, and it's about a reaction to it. Now, in 1978, the regulators in Michigan recognized that they had a problem with the fish in the Tittabawassee River. They smelled. They also didn't taste very good. So as a result, we got in 1978 our first fish advisory. But up to that point, we didn't have a whole lot of regulation at the Dow Chemical Company, because Dow, as you probably know, hires a lot of people, has a lot of wealth, and has a lot of power in political circles. Well, this story actually starts in 2000. One of the products that is chlorinated is PCBs. And it's got a fancy name, polychlorinated biphenyls. And it got dark in here all of a sudden. Just because I used that? No.
You look so good
can't
now.
Be. The GM Chevrolet plant, as it was called in Bay City, used PCBs on their blocks. They used it in some of the machines, because one nice thing about PCBs is They're very resistant to being broken down. They're very heat resistant. They thought that they would work very well in the industrial world, except they're toxic. They get out into the environment. They bioaccumulate in not only animals, but people and fish. And as a result, GM was told they had to address their PCBs. And they did, almost immediately. They started pulling up their blocks. They started actually dredging the Saginaw River, where some of these wastes were placed. And it was a success. It was a story. Now, one of the things in Michigan, if you have to do a cleanup, and it means you have to mess with the wetlands, you have to replace them. Not only one for one, but 2 or 3 times what you destroyed. So one of the things that occurred in 2000 was that GM was hunting around for potential wetlands to buy to replace those that the cleanup required. Well, they thought there are a lot of wetlands in the Saginaw the floodplain of the Tittabawassee River. So they went over there in search of wetlands. And one of the things that the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality requires when you're looking for wetlands is to test. And so they had to test for what was in those wetlands. Well, we were a group that had had some success with fighting the Midland nuclear plant and for a number of efforts in opposition to the Dow Chemical Company. And we had a very good relationship with, at that time, it was called the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Now it's called EGLE. And they let us know that something was going on. Not the state people, but the local people. They had received a gag order from then DEQ Director Russ Harding. This was part of the Engler administration. And they couldn't talk to us about it. So, thanks to Watergate, we have what is called the Freedom of Information Act. And we used, Michelle heard Riddick, myself, the Lone Tree Council, used the Freedom of Information Act to get a whole box of documents where we read that the GM investigation on those floodplains revealed dioxin levels 80 times the state average. It was bad. And they weren't supposed to talk about it. But that didn't stop us from talking about it. We immediately held a press conference and said, Dow, clean up your dioxin. It's gone on long enough. And we didn't expect a GM response, but we were kind of overwhelmed by the resistance of this company. They were amazing. But we had an ally, and that is we got a Democratic governor, Governor Granholm. She got a DEQ director from the EPA. His name was Chester, and he was good. He was an EPA attorney, and he believed in preserving the environment. And the Dow Chemical Company started out with an amazing bunch of misinformation. They were telling the community that it wasn't their dioxin. I don't know of any other chemical plant over in Midland on the Tittabawassee River, but the state responded almost immediately. Look at all your processes can be fingerprinted, and those fingerprints indicate that dioxin is coming from you. You can't use that. And then they suggested, this is the Dow Chemical Company, oh, you've got to eat you've got to eat dirt in order to get any kind of impact from it. Well, that's not what the GIs in Vietnam have said, or the Vietnamese. You can be exposed through animals, which is what the EPA says is 90% of the way we consume dioxin, through fish primarily, but other animals that uptake it. And you can actually breathe it, you can get it in your skin. So that didn't work very well. Then Dow did something amazing. They did a wildlife study in the floodplain. They actually hired biologists to look at the deer, to look at the squirrel, to look at the wild turkeys. And then in the Midland Daily News, they had a front page story. Hunters can be assured we're in good shape. Then the Michigan Health Department looked at the data and said, no, hunters aren't. And we have to this day a hunting advisory in the floodplain of the Tittabawassee River. So the bottom line is we were allied with the state. We were fighting the Dow Chemical Company, and it would take 8 years. The EPA was disgusted, even under George W. Bush administration, with the delaying tactics that Dow was using. And as a result, Region 5 director came in, Mary Gade. She came in from Chicago and she said, Dow, there are some concentrated areas. You are ordered to dig that up and properly dispose of it. She was fired within a year. That's the consequences of divine power. However, things changed in 2007, I believe it was. Obama came in. It was a new EPA. This time, they hauled Dow's ass, excuse me, to the negotiation table. And in 2009, produced an agreement under Superfund to begin the cleanup process. So, it started in 2013. No, I'm sorry. It started in 2012. It has been going on for 13 years and it is still going on. One of the agreements was that the cleanup would have a community advisory group to oversee the state and Dow and EPA's cleanup process. I was there at the beginning. I've been on it for about the last decade. And I can tell you, to date, Dow has removed 37,000 cubic yards of contaminated sediment and soil from the Tittabawassee River and the banks. They've also stabilized much of it. And it all is part of the activism to get this thing done. And it's not over. They are still obligated to monitor all their work. And finally, they were sued for the damages they did to the environment. And because of that, in 2020, there was an agreement. Dow is going to be spending an estimated $77 million to put in new parks, expand the Shiawassee Nature Center, put in fish reefs, and do all sorts of resource protection, if you will, to bring back this natural community as close as it can to what it was. So, that's a good story. Keep working.
All right, thank you, Terry.
Whatever you want to say.
Okay, all right.
I let him say whatever.
All right. Thank you, Terry. Yes.
Yeah.
Terry, anybody have any questions for Terry in the dioxin Dow Chemical story?
Hey, does anybody remember the year the river didn't freeze? Was it in the 70s or in the 80s?
I think it was in the 70s. That may have prompted the fish advisory the first time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a question back there, Jerry?
Yes.
Yep, Jan first up from the top, history on the American waters. My personal, always my concerns is in these industries, the amount of water that they use in their industrial production. So, you know, are they making means or ways of recycling or reducing their water consumption? And then the things that they produce, hopefully that the filtration or I don't know, all those kinds of things. So I know a lot of industries use massive amounts of water in the production of their products.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. They do, and Dow does too. And they have to have it cleaned before it goes back.
Right, but I mean, it's like there's a way to recycle the water that they use to do their products versus just going and using, you know, clean water and then moving that water as well. And it's like a limited amount of clean fresh water not this good.
Yeah. They do have to do that. But they do need more green chemistry. We did a pollution prevention project with them in the late 90s with Peter's mother, Mary Sinclair, with Tracy Eastope from the Ecology Center of Ann Arbor. And we put a green engineer inside Dow. And we didn't have to do any kind of confidentiality. We refused to do that. And we would meet with them, I think it was quarterly. And the goal was to find substitutes for the toxic emissions, both discharges into the water and into the air, and find alternative chemicals to use. And we did, because they were telling us that the regulatory system prevented them from doing that. And we discovered, and they admitted in public meetings, well, you saved us some money, and those are fewer toxics going into the air and the water. In fact, we went on the road. I went to San Diego with Dow to talk to other corporations, but we got the same response we initially got from Dow. Oh, we've taken care of all that. Oh, we're the scientists, we're the engineers, we've done that. But they really haven't. We asked them to have a chair of green chemistry at SVSU, but they haven't done it today. But we're still pushing. Good question on the water. Any others? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Chair of the Lone Tree Council. Okay, next up is a tremendous individual that I had the pleasure of meeting about 5 years ago. She is the executive director of the Michigan Climate Action Network. She is Dr. Denise Keel.
There you go.
Well, hi everybody. What a powerful story. I moved to Michigan in 2009. I live in Kalamazoo watershed, and the very first issue I worked on in this state was PCBs in our Kalamazoo River, the Superfund site. So I totally relate to what you're doing, and I'm really here to talk about that local activism across the state and to let you all know what's going on with the climate movement here in Michigan. I told Tony he could say whatever he wanted. He didn't say very much, so that's okay. I'm going to tell you a lot about us. Hi again, I'm Denise Keel. I'm the Executive Director of the Michigan Climate Action Network, and we are the proud sponsor of today's event. I'm so excited. I know.